I bet you didn't realize that when you became a small business owner, a creative small business owner, when you started doing weddings or photography or paper goods, that you also were going to have to become an accountant. That's the thing about creative small business. We get in and we wear lots of hats, sometimes hats that really aren't our strengths. And it's not a lot of fun. But every single year around April 15th, Uncle Sam decides that it's time to get some taxes from us, some income taxes. So this week we're talking all about getting tax day ready. So step number one to prepare for taxes is just to get the right documentation in place, because there's so many things it can seem like when you get those tax preparation papers from your CPA. It's like, where do I even begin? Do I need to dig up all those receipts? Do I need to go dig out all those bank statements? So I'm just going to cut that clutter today and simplify it into 4 items that you need to pull to get tax day ready. This will be used by your CPA, or if you're using TurboTax or some kind of system like that, pulling all these documents together is part of getting ready. It can feel a lot like the stress of it, trying to gather it all up, how to do those things. So there's some great organizational tips I would love to share in a different video, but today we're just going to talk about which documents do you need to have to get ready for tax season. So the first set of documents are monthly bank statements. So this is for any account that is used for your business. So if you have a separate business account, this doesn't have to be a business account. It can just be a separate checking account at your bank. But you really need a separate checking account at your bank that's used specifically for your business. This is going to save you so much headache in the long run if you separate out all your business transactions and all your personal transactions. So first and foremost, go ahead and print off all of your bank statements by month. So January, February, March, April, all the way to December of your bank statements for your business checking account, your separate account that's just for business. If you have a business credit card, you're going to want to print off these statements as well. I love printing these because there's something really great and helpful about having paper copies, so that when you're trying to highlight different things or look for different categories, it's so much easier than having all of these transactions on an online screen. So I go ahead and print those out. So you want your separate checking account at your bank, any kind of credit card that you have, and then if you've been using a personal bank account for business transactions, you're going to need to print off those statements too. This is going to be really helpful in the next set of data that we're looking at, sales and expenses. So having these statements printed off is really going to help. So that's step number one. You can pause this video and go ahead and just print those off January through December every month of those bank statements. So second, you need to pull together your receipts. Receipts for anything that you've spent on your business. So why do we need to have receipts? Why can't we just look at bank statements? So a bank statement is going to tell a total charge. So if I go to Home Depot and spend $100, it'll say Home Depot $100, but it doesn't say what I purchased at Home Depot. That's what the receipt is for. So the IRS wants to see not just the amount you spent, but what you spent that on. And so this is only important if you ever get audited, which just means the IRS has some questions about your books, about your tax returns, and they want to look at it in a more detailed way. That's what we need copies of receipts for. So receipts actually tell itemized amounts that were spent, making that big charge broken down into smaller charges. So this is really helpful and why the IRS does require receipts for each of those purchases. The other way to do this, which is not as great, but if you have a bank statement, you can individually write all the things that were spent, but that's going to take a lot of time and it's just easier to keep receipts. The great thing is you don't have to have paper files of those anymore. There's some really great tools online to have electronic copies where you can take a picture of the receipt and keep it on an online platform so that it just holds that receipt online, and that's all that's required is that you have a copy of that. So go ahead and pull out any of your receipts that you've kept. Hopefully you've kept some of those. Do not stress out if you haven't. It's not the end of the world. Just know that moving forward, you need to have a copy of all your purchases and keep those business receipts. This can also be bills paid. So if you've written checks for things, to have the bills that you actually paid. So for instance, if you are a floral company and you rented some things for your client from a rental company, so you wrote a check to that rental company for $1,000, where's the bill from that rental company that has everything you purchased? That's also going to help you know and remember back to what some of those big charges were for. So receipts and bills are really great to go ahead and pull those now. Our third thing we want to look at are actual bookkeeping reports. So if you don't have a sophisticated bookkeeping system, that's okay. Don't feel like you're behind on the game. Honestly, you can do this in Excel. You can even do it in paper format like the good old days. It's okay. We just need a record, which we're going to talk more about, of sales and expenses. But if you do have a bookkeeping system, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, I think HoneyBooks, anything that records bookkeeping, which is how much came in and how much went out, how much you sold and where you spent it. There's some really great reports that bookkeeping systems can print off for you automatically. Those are, number one, your profit and loss report. So your profit and loss report is just a fancy way of saying profit, all the things you sold, total sales, all the dollars you got in this year, and then expenses, all the money you spent out. A profit and loss report shows all those sales and all those expenses. So that's a really good report to go ahead, and if you have a bookkeeping software or someone's doing that for you, ask your bookkeeper to print off your profit and loss report. I do this by year from January 1st to December 31st. And next, a really good report that, again, a bookkeeping system will do for you automatically is called a balance sheet. And so a balance sheet is actually just saying things that your business owns or things that your business owes. So if you own a car under your business, it'll be here. Equipment that you've purchased, it might be here. And then if you have any loans on the business or credit card balances, it'll also show on your balance sheet. So that's another bookkeeping report that you want to go ahead and print off. So your profit and loss and your balance sheet. Another great thing that your bookkeeping system will have for you are client invoices. Any way that you're invoicing clients, you want to go ahead and print off a copy of those invoices. This is going to be really helpful if you are trying to figure out how much you sold last year. If you don't have a system that's recording all that for you, but you have all your client invoices, you can go ahead and go through and print those off. If you don't have too many, or at least put them all together in a place so you can go through and figure out how much did I sell last year. So again, we would just want to gather these documents, and then I'm going to tell you in future videos how to use them. So we want a profit and loss, a balance sheet, and then our client invoices. The fourth and final thing that you are going to want to have beside you when you are working on your taxes is a calendar. So your calendar from the previous year. You want a calendar that's filled out with any events that you went to, clients you had, weddings that you put on, anything that can help you remember back to what you did 12 months ago or 13 months ago. Because sometimes it's really hard to remember, goodness, what was I doing on January 15th of 2016 that I spent $500 at such and such place? Oh yeah, I'm gonna look at my calendar and remember, right, I was at that event and that was a big vendor dinner. So just having that calendar will help refresh your memory if you didn't write down what you were spending that money on. So the first step in getting tax day ready is just pulling together the right documents. The documents that are going to give you the data you need to really find all those sales and all those expenses.